So let's see. We got John and Steph. Just to give a little background for them. John's going to be 71. Steph's going to be 65, and we're going to say that it was a Facebook meet. Okay. And just so you guys know, this is how I try to set up when I'm in the house, but they're both like this, so I don't have to be going like back and forth, because it's really awkward if you have to do that. So I like them to be here. If we go to sit at the table, I'm like, would you guys mind if I sat here and y'all both sit right here? And then as long as you ask politely, most people will go ahead and do that for you. So I sit down. Like John, which one it was you that filled this out, correct, John? Sending it over Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I assume the major concern was just burial coverage, because that's what it was for. But did you have anything else that happened recently, or that kind of prompted you to fill this out, or was it just that you saw it pop up and realized that you needed some coverage, being that you were 71 years old?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, mostly age had something to do with it. Obviously, we see people dying for sure.
Got it. Have y'all had anyone recently that passed away in your family or friends or anything like that?
Yeah, I had a cousin.
Cousin? What was your cousin's name?
Lisa.
Lisa? Okay, gotcha. Did Lisa have any insurance at all, or?
She did not.
She did not?
No.
Okay. Who ended up having to pay for that one?
I believe it was her daughter.
Her daughter?
Yeah.
Got it. Do you know how much they had to spend for all that stuff?
I don't, but it was like a hardship.
It was pretty hard? Okay. Yeah. Have you all had any other family members in the past that had insurance that helped you out at all, or?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah? Tell me about that a little bit.
I had a great aunt, and she passed away, but
Mhm.
she had everything lined up, and everyone knew who to call and where to go, and so it was very painless.
Okay, gotcha. So it sounds like y'all are definitely believers in insurance, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then kind of before we start, I just want to know, do you guys have any insurance at all, or?
Only we have a military background, so
So you got
we
the,
get something there maybe.
yeah, they pay for your plot if you want to get buried at the one military
Yeah,
base
I'm
that you were
not
at. Okay.
sure, yeah.
So let me just ask you real quick, John. You're 71 years old, and Steph, you're 65. Is there any particular reason you guys haven't gotten insurance to this point, or is it just you've been putting it off, procrastinating, or?
Yeah. I mean, we just looked around a little bit, and I don't know.
Got it. So
Never
sounds
done.
like you're ready to be done procrastinating today, then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So just a little bit background on me and what I do. The company we work with is called Family First Life. I have access to all the A-rated insurance carriers that I need to get you the best price possible. So what I have here is this is a client suitability worksheet. And basically what it's going to allow me to do is go through and ask you all some financial questions, some health questions, and we already kind of answered the insurance part. You don't have any, which we're going to fix today, right? And basically figure out what the best scenario for you guys would be and make sure that you're covered everywhere you need to be covered. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you, and it'll take me about 5-10 minutes to get through this. I don't have any big presentation for you. I'm just going to ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So John, let's see. And then real quick, how long have you guys been together for?
3 years?
3 years?
Married 3 years. Yeah.
Married 3 years?
Yeah.
Which one was chasing? I bet you were chasing her, right?
She was definitely not chasing me.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's obvious, but it's a little bit obvious. Yeah. Okay. And then we said, so John, you're 71, and Steph, you're 65. Yeah, you got lucky on this one, John. Okay. So John, what's your monthly income total?
Total. We have pension.
Okay.
That's about $2,000.
And where does that pension come from?
It's military. It's through that.
Okay, is that from disability through the military, or is it just a pension from the military?
No, it's not disability.
Not disability, okay. And I'm sure you're aware that since you guys have only been together for 3 years, if you do pass in the next 7 years, before the next 7 years is up, that she gets none of that pension, correct?
Yeah, no, I did. I wasn't 100% sure how it works, to
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah. So in the next 7 years, just because you haven't been married more than 10 years, she won't get any of that. After that, she'll get 60%. Okay.
After 10, got it.
Yeah. Okay. And then what? Do you have more income besides that, or just the 2,000?
We get Social Security too.
Okay. Do you know how much yours is per month?
About $1,200.
Okay. And then Steph, do you have Social Security as well?
Yes, I think it's like 700.
700. Okay. And then, are you familiar with how Social Security works? If John passed, do you know how much money you get if John passes away?
Not exactly, no.
All right. So what will happen is if John passes away, you're going to get his 1,200. You're going to lose this 2,000, right? And you're going to lose your 700. So you guys' income will go from about $4,000 a month to about 1,200 a month for you. Okay. So I mean, I guess the other reason you probably filled this out was to make sure you had some sort of income replacement for when John passes away, so you can keep living like you're living, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. And then were you guys basically just looking to make sure that Steph had something to cover for her burial, or tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we needed to. I'm trying not to make it too hard, obviously.
Mhm.
You know, we have okay income, but
Yeah.
you know, she won't have a ton obviously later, so
Okay.
we need to.
Big priorities to cover a lot on you, and then at least get something for each person.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then, all right. So this is a nice house. Do you guys own this house, or are you renting this house?
We own it.
You own it. Okay. Congrats, that's awesome. I wish I owned a house. What's your, do you know what the balance, like the ballpark, you don't have to tell me exact figure, but ballpark figure you owe left on the mortgage?
It's like 80-something grand.
80 something, okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you know how many years you have left on that?
15.
15, okay. And what's the monthly mortgage payment?
It's like $800.
800, okay. Yeah, okay. And then the total value of the house, any idea what that is?
Probably 150.
150, okay. See a good bit of equity, that's awesome. And then, is the house just in your name, John, or is Steph on it as well?
So she's on like the title, I guess.
Yeah,
She's on that part. She's
Okay.
not on the mortgage though.
okay. And then I guess, so this brings up another point, Steph, if something does happen to John, I mean, you'd be trying to make a $1,200 mortgage payment with $800 a month and try to live. Are you, I mean, would your goal be to downsize this house and pull the equity out, you know, or go live somewhere with the kids, or
No, I don't
somewhere
wanna
without a
go anywhere.
mortgage? You wouldn't go
No,
anywhere?
I wanna stay here.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a pretty big house. Just with $1,200 a month, you know, is there any way you think you could stay here? If something happened to John, if something happened to John yesterday. You don't want her to find a husband, do you? That's not your goal, is it?
That is
Okay.
definitely not my goal.
Cool.
They try.
Yeah, and at least, what I see a lot of people do is at least, you know, take out a little bit extra coverage just to make sure that if he does pass, you have some time to figure out if you're gonna refinance the house, do a reverse mortgage, or whatever the case may be, but at least to buy you some time. So we can just add that on to what we would get for his death benefit and the income replacement, okay? Okay, cool. And then, the other thing that's nice too is you guys have $80,000 in equity right now, right? And John's 71 years old. So let's say, God forbid, you know, John, you make it till 82, which is about how long guys live, right? You pass away, you slip, fall, pass away, whatever happens. You probably have $100,000 of equity in the house by then.
Yes.
I mean, I know you're laughing, but that's what happens in life, right? Guys live to 82 years old, and
Yeah.
I want to pause right there. So if people laugh like that, I'm like, I don't laugh with them.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, nah, we're not laughing. It's not funny. We're talking about him dying, like after he fell in the bathtub. That's not a funny thing. So I think a lot of people, I used to like engage and laugh with them. I cut it out now. I'm like, no, we're not laughing. Like we're here for business. And then if I want them to laugh, it'll be something like I'd make them laugh on purpose, you know. So I just wanted to,
Yeah.
at least,
no,
yeah.
it's keep in control.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
It's like, why
most
we're
people would
laughing?
have given into that.
Yeah,
And then
it's not
started
funny.
chuckling and probably got off task.
Right,
Most
exactly.
people do that. And then it gets personal and crazy
Yeah,
stuff
then it gets
happens.
weird, right? And so it's like the times we got off task, it was like who was chasing who. That's a question I asked. If they start going off on a tangent, I literally just go like this. All right, so John, what's your health like? And I'll just jump back into it, right? So that's where we are on here. So what is your health like? Do you take any medications? Actually, better yet, do you have a list of your medications? Awesome. Okay. And I started doing that because I remember early on, I asked John, I was writing a lot of business and it was all getting declined, right? I was like, I don't know, these people are all saying I'm healthy. So I would have usually asked him, what's your health like? And he'd be like, I'm awesome.
Healthy as a horse.
Yeah. So, but John, what's your health like now? It's like you're on insulin. You had a heart attack 2 years ago. You have Parkinson's disease. You're not in good health, right? So, but I don't tell them that. But I'm like, all right. So you have insulin, heart attack, Parkinson's. Awesome. I definitely know there's something that will still be able to take you. You're in a lot better health than I see a lot of 72-year-olds. So that's a good thing. And then I write that down. I write down his medicines. If there's any I need to look up, I guess I just use Google. Like I just Google them and see what they can be used for and make sure it'd be okay. I know there's fancy apps out there for it, but I just like Google because you can scroll through and see all the different possibilities and be like, no, this medicine is no chance it's used for blood pressure.
Yeah.
Like all of them say heart failure. This is not a blood pressure medicine. So I like to definitely check and verify that sort of stuff. All right, John, and do you smoke or do you non-smoker?
I do not.
Non-smoker. Do you ever used to smoke?
Nope.
Okay. Cool. And then what about for you, Steph? This is your same list of medicines on this side?
Yes.
Okay. So with Steph, insulin, stent. Okay. So I know at that point anyways that we're looking for some sort of permanent coverage. So I already knew I was doing whole life, but I'll be like, great news. You guys will be able to qualify for something permanent. Like whatever it is. If someone's young and healthy, great news, you guys get a term. If they're old and sick, great news, you guys can get, you know, day one permanent coverage. I just make it sound like it's the awesome revelation, right? Even though I knew that's where I was going with it the entire time. And then, so we get to the end. All right, so John, you don't have any current life insurance right now, you said, right?
Nope.
All right, Steph, you don't have any either?
No.
Got it. Okay, have you guys ever applied for coverage before and gotten declined or anything like that that I should know about? Any like one where they drew your blood out or anything crazy like that back in the past? No? Okay. And the reason I asked that too is just to help with underwriting, because that's where you'll run into some snags every once in a while where someone took a fully underwritten policy and they got declined, but they're telling you they don't take any medicine. Go grab me the report for that one, we'll look through it and see what we can get you. Because I like to get it done while we're in the house. I don't like to have to go back 3, 4, 5 times, and then they think I'm unprofessional and don't know what I'm doing. So I like to try to get them approved while we're there, right? All right, so John, what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna go through, look for a couple different companies, and present a few options for you. In the meantime, will you do me a favor, and it's hot as hell out here today. Will you go grab me a glass of water, and then bring me back both y'all's driver's license and your checkbook, okay?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go through, pick some numbers out, and then do an application to make sure we can get you approved, okay?
Got it.
Water. Just kidding.
I'm gonna go. I feel like I should. You want to?
No, I'm good.
You gonna price them for?
Yeah.
I need some.
When you're looking up quotes, do you communicate with the clients? while you're
No, I
doing
make them go do stuff like that, you know, and I'm like, if you need to get up and, you know, make dinner, dishes, you know, whatever, not to be sexist, but I'm just, you know.
Water, sir. Glass of water and dinner.
Yeah, yeah, I am hungry, it's hot and I haven't eaten all day, so.
Takeout takes a little while.
Right. And for them, so someone in this situation, I wouldn't quote them the same thing, right? Like I wouldn't quote Steph 30,000, and I would quote her something smaller, and then look at something larger for John, right?
Yeah.
And I tell them that ahead of time, like this isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. Like based on what you need for her, like I'm here to help you guys stay within your budget, right?
Yeah.
So based on what you need for her, we're gonna look, you know, somewhere between 20 to 10,000, and somewhere for John, we're gonna look a little bit more, you know, somewhere between 30 to 20,000, okay? And you guys will tell me what fits your budget. And for ones like this where I kind of turn a final expense appointment into a mortgage appointment, I'll be like, okay, so John, the house, you pay about $14,000 per year towards the mortgage, right?
Yep.
And we said, or I guess Steph said she wouldn't be able to stay here at all if something happened to you. She'd be able to pay for it like a month, right? So kind of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of what I'm thinking is you need about $10,000 to cover your burial and stuff, and then probably another $14,000 for her to have a year to cover the mortgage, right? That sound about right?
Yeah. Makes
Okay.
sense.
So we're gonna look at that for the minimum. So that puts us about 25,000 for yours, right? And then Steph, you know, she probably deserves a better funeral than you, right? No, I'm just kidding, John. But so we'll look at like 20,000, 15, 10,000 for her to cover and get everything she would need for her funeral, okay? And then I'll go through and quote them out. So for John, I would probably show him 30, 25, and 10. And I'll save you know, the time of going through and actually quoting them out. And for her, I would probably show her 20, 15, and 10. And then all I do when I present is I'm like, all right, which one of you guys does the budget? Steph, it's probably you, right?
No, it's him.
It's him? Oh, surprise of the day. Okay, so, John, what I'm gonna do is send these over to you, and I put them as one number, right? So I'll show $300 for the top one, right? 200, 100, whatever the case may be. I'll slide over to John and be like, hey, John, look at these. Tell me which one makes the most sense. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and get the application loaded and start putting your stuff in here because I have all your information, okay? So while he's looking at that stuff, I'm doing the application. And so I just make it really difficult. Like they have to go so far out of their way to tell me we're not doing business, and it's uncomfortable, right? And we're just gonna move through it. And then that's when I have to address stuff every once in a while. Well, we're not sure if we want to do something right now. And I'd be like, gotcha. Well, you know, if like you said, John, if you didn't come home yesterday, then Steph will be moving out in a month. Is that something you want to have happen? So I try to save that like difficult confrontation for the end if I really need it. And most times, if you do it properly and you make it to the point where you're doing an application, you won't have to do that. Does that make sense?
I think it's like some people are going, he didn't give any objections. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's the thing. It's like with that, and you can touch on it if you want to further, but it's like with the level of control and detailed and specific questions and how intentionally they were, it's hard to get them, right? And if you do, he gets them early. Like the only thing I could have really thought was like something that I didn't want insurance. Then it would be weird and he'd engage that at the beginning, and we'd probably been here 3 minutes.
Right.
I think the biggest issue with newer agents is there's and you have to learn the level of control. You don't have it day one.
That's something I struggled with for a long time, right? And I think I called John a lot early on. I was like, I'm young and people don't take me seriously. He's like, no, you're just being an idiot. People aren't taking me seriously, right? Because I just thought that it was because I was young, and I realized it was not that. I just didn't have any control, and I wasn't acting professional, and I wasn't just trying to help people. Yeah, it was my excuse, right? Like you can have all kinds of excuses, and that was mine. And I thought it was all in my head because now I realized like people don't care. I could be like 12 years old. Maddox could come up and sell a bunch of policies. You know what I mean? Just because what we do is very simple, and people ask for insurance. So I think if you just go into it just dead set that they're going to buy 100%, like with all the conviction in the world that they're going to buy, most people will. you know, and it's because they did fill out a form and they are asking for your help. One other in-home thing I do want to touch on is I definitely make sure to tell everyone that I'm a broker, work with all the top A-rated companies. So you guys looking with anyone else for any other insurance or anything right now? And if they tell me, yeah, I have 2 appointments like the next couple of days, I'll be like, awesome news, John. The good news is you're just gonna have to meet with me and you can cancel those other ones because I work with all the companies. So I'm gonna get you situated today because you don't want to meet with 2 other insurance guys and have them be here for 2 hours, right? And most people say no, and you can just get them to. I'm like, all right, why don't you just text them to cancel that right now, and while I'm going through this appointment.
Yeah.
And like most people will do it if you just tell them what to do. So that's how I eliminate competition. They get rid of appointments.
Tell them the thing you told me out there about the checkbook thing.
What's that?
The checkbook.
Okay, yeah, so yesterday I had a lady, we got to the end, almost through the app, and she was like, I don't want to use checkbook for this. And I just was like, we just spent 30 minutes on your porch, it's 100 degrees outside. Can you please just go get me your checkbook? And then she just got up and went and got it. Like, I was like, I'm sweating right now. We're sitting on your porch because you have 100 kids inside, and it smells like smoke in there. Can you please just go get me your checkbook? And she just went and did it, right? So I think if you just learn to be assertive and direct people, you know, with questions and get them to move, then they will move. And as long as you say it confidently, people will do what you're asking them to do. Because they want, like, my dad's a doctor, so it's an easy analogy for me, right? Like, you go into the doctor's office and he's like, your heart's messed up, you could take like this pill or this one or maybe this one even. They'd be like, dude, this guy has no idea what he's doing, right? But if you go in there, you're like, this is the one you got to take and here's why, then people are like, okay, I'll take that pill. So I think we have to treat ourselves the same way, be a professional, be assertive, and make sure people know we have their best interest at heart. So, I think, is that my time, Grady? Is Grady in here still? No.
When do you know that it's a
We have a couple
3-minute
more
appointment and you bail out as opposed to
Oh, we have a lot more
waiting
time.
half hour or whatever and try to
Yeah.
overcome
Go through a
the
mortgage?
objection they have?
Let me see it.
We have till 50.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, so,
Yeah, 15 more minutes.
okay, cool. So I know when to bail if I get there and I say something like in the beginning, like, you don't have any insurance, I guess it's time to take care of it right now. And they're like, no, we just, I guess the only time I really would bail is if they're like, I just filled it out just because and I don't need any insurance, I already have a bunch, and they won't even let me sit down with them. Then I'll be like, oh, I have 8 more appointments to go. Like, if you really don't want my help, I'll go ahead and get up and leave. And just kind of throw all your cards on the table. A lot of people will be like, well, no, actually, I do need insurance. But every once in a while, they'll be like, yeah, I just filled it out just because. And I'm not going to sit there and argue with them. I get enough leads and I see enough people to where it's not a useful piece of time.
I always tell, how long you been around for? How long you been?
6 months.
6 months, yeah. You may or may not know yet. I always tell people not like, I think a lot of new agents want to know that and they want to know how to make their appointments shorter, right? And I always tell people not to rush that. That will come with time and experience. And honestly, the best thing for you, the reason he can do that, like, you might judge it wrong. He knows how to judge it because his questions are so good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they're only so good because his questions were terrible at the beginning.
Yeah.
And he would call me after and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Meaning if you ask that, you get this answer. Why did you ask that question that way?
Right.
Because that allowed them to ramble on. You know what I mean? Or you might go in and think that you have to listen to people talk for 35 minutes. Like that, like it's required to build rapport and, you know what I mean? That's not the case, that's in your head. So if you try to force that stuff too early, I think you'll hurt yourself. I think as you start getting better with questions and seeing that your appointments are dragging on, if your appointments are long and you aren't making sales, it means your questions suck.
Right.
So get back with somebody who knows how to ask better questions and go like, hey, what questions could I have asked better to get this, to not get to this point? I think it's better to do that than call and go like, hey, how do I overcome this objection 47 minutes in?
Right.
Does that make sense? We want to make sure you don't ever get to that objection. It's an easier thing to work with. If you spend your day out in the field overcoming objections all day long, not that you don't try, but if that's the main thing you're trying to learn, buckle up. This thing's going to be brutal. You know what I mean? Whereas if you learn how to ask questions so you don't lead yourself, you walk yourself into objections. By the way you pose the beginning of the appointment, the way you ask your questions, you set yourself up. You've just got to accept that and go, all right, how can I get better at setting structure, saying why I'm here, here's who I am, here's what we're going to do today. Does that make sense? And here's the questions I have to do. When you do that, a lot of that stuff just it literally like goes away because they have to fight it so hard, you know?
And something I learned too that I do a lot of is I ask people questions, but I've already like suggested a few answers
Yeah.
before to get them to go there. So I don't ask any open-ended questions.
You did it with the house thing?
Yeah, with the house thing.
Yeah,
Like,
you did
so
it there.
it comes up, they have a mortgage and a final expense appointment. It's like, God, I assume one of the reasons you filled this out is you knew you needed some money to help replace his income when he dies to pay the mortgage, right? Like, what are they gonna say? No? It'd be uncomfortable if they said no. So, and then I can build more value and use, you know, the mortgage protection to add on extra premium and be like, you need actually, you know, 30,000 sounds like it's what you told me you needed, right, John? He wasn't gonna say, well, I don't care about the house anymore. Like, it's just, it wouldn't make any sense, right? So I just try to do things in a way to where I'm asking a question, make it seem like it's their idea, but it's like, it's my idea, but I just want them to think it was their idea. We have a little bit of time. Do you want to run through a mortgage protection one real quick?
Yeah.
You want to do it like you guys were before you started here?
You pick. We
Yeah,
can
let's
do
do
it
that.
way or the
Let's
line
do
time.
that
Yeah,
one.
you pick which one.
Let's do we just kind of did divine time on this, so. Okay, cool. So, same sort of intro for the mortgage ones. Sit down. Hey, John, just so you know, the company I work with is Family First Life. We do mortgage protection, normal life insurance, and retirement income planning. Obviously, we're here to focus on your mortgage thing, making sure something happens. I'm sure the reason you guys filled it out is because if something happens, either you want to make sure that the other person's not stuck with the bill, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, did anyone tell you should do this? Did anyone pass away recently? Anything like that? I run into that a lot with my clients, so I'm just curious if you guys had anything like that.
We're going back in time, like
Yeah, like when you guys
pre-accounting,
were,
right?
when you're accounting.
Sorry,
Sorry.
we had a pause there.
Yeah.
No, I don't know of anybody our age or anything that's
Okay.
died. We bought the house not too long ago and kind of read the thing and
Gotcha.
trying to figure out what it's all about.
Okay. Cool. Have you guys ever owned a house before? Or is this the first one?
It's the first one.
Okay. Congrats. So I mean, that must mean you guys are doing pretty well, right? Income wise.
Yeah.
We got approved.
You got approved, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the good news is, John, when we're going through this today, the lender already pre-qualified you for this because they wouldn't have let you get a loan if you couldn't afford to have a bunch of your income free, meaning you can afford stuff like this and stuff for your kids, camps, whatever the case may be. But I'm not going to show you anything today that you can't afford because you've already been qualified for the bank to be able to get everything that we're going to go through today. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I know everyone's worried about budget. You don't need to worry about that. It's not going to be anything outrageous, okay?
I want you to,
Yeah.
guess you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
How intentional that was for him
Yeah.
to do that in the house. I mean, I don't know how many people picked up on that. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's setting the stage for what's coming.
We're getting rid of the budget objection up front. That's like the one I used to get the most, so I hammer it at the beginning of the appointment. You guys are doing well. You have 60% of your income free from, before we even talk about their income. I know that it's all free because the lender just approved them for a loan, right?
Yeah.
So I hammer that at the beginning until they're like, yeah, we're doing awesome. I make him feel, and then both feel great about their income. And I'm like, don't worry, we're not gonna show you anything you can't afford today.
It's hard to say I'm broke in 20 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah,
just
there's no
like,
chance.
yeah,
We'd be
we
like,
talk, you know?
you were just talking about how awesome everything was going, and you had so much income. So, and I tell them like, we're not going to show you anything that you can't afford today. That would be possible with the amount of income and your debt to income ratio that you were approved for the loan for. Okay. All right. So, John, how old are you?
35.
35. Cool. And then Steph,
30.
30. Just pretend like I went back through the he was chasing her thing. That's still stay the same. All right, John, you said earlier you work as an accountant now, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know about what your monthly income is?
It's like 45 grand a year.
Okay,
So,
45 grand a year.
like $4 grand, I guess.
4 grand. Got it. Damn, life's a lot better now, isn't it?
Amen, brother.
All right, and then Steph, you work as well. You said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What do you do for work?
I am business manager for an optical laboratory.
Okay. Business manager. Do you know about what your monthly or your whichever way you know it, monthly or yearly? It's fine.
55.
55. Okay. Got it. So it's fair to say that you guys need both incomes to pay all your bills and everything. Got it. Like most of my families, if you lost one, it'd make life pretty impossible, correct? Okay. Do you guys have any kids or anything, or how many kids?
5.
5. Okay. They all live with you?
No.
Cool. How many live with you?
1.
1. Okay. Do you get the other ones on weekends or anything like that? Okay. The other 4 or
3 now.
3? Okay. Cool. So 1 kid permanently, and then 3 live with you. What are your kids' names?
Shaylee, TJ.
These are real names.
Yeah, Shaylee, yeah, and their ages, yeah. So Shay, legit. So if y'all want to, this part's real.
Yeah.
Shaylee's now almost 25.
Okay.
TJ's 20, big 21. Gabby's 13. Braden's 11, and Maddox is 7. Hiding in the corner playing his iPad. Y'all running with that with us.
Gotcha. You guys clearly have a basketball team with your kids,
Yes.
right? That's awesome.
If they were that athletic.
Right. Okay, cool. All All right, and then what's the mortgage balance total here?
What's left?
Yeah, yeah.
Like 120.
120. Okay, and it's 30 years, I assume.
It is, yeah.
Okay. What's the monthly payment on it?
It's like 850.
850. Okay. And then was the house appraised at the 120 or
A few bucks more.
a few
like
bucks
one-
more? You guys had to put a little down payment down on it or something like
Yeah,
that?
very little. A few grand we put down.
Okay. And then are you guys both on the mortgage?
Yep.
Okay. Both on the mortgage. Got it. That's smart. That's very smart. A lot of couples don't do that. So it sounds like you at least somewhat have your stuff together, right? Know what you're doing. And I just try to edify people as much as I possibly can throughout the whole appointment. Like,
People
good
eat that stuff
job,
up,
it's
too.
smart, like, you know, I try to make her feel good, like he's chasing you. She's like, yeah, look, I'm really pretty. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I just try to build people up the whole time. And I'm not really very funny, but I make them laugh every once in a while. You know, just try to say something sarcastic to make people laugh. So I do the health same way. So any medications, anything like that for you guys?
No.
Okay. When you were looking at this, were you guys mostly just looking just if you died to have the mortgage pay off, or were you wanting something if you got really sick to help out as well?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean by that one?
Like if you had like anything critical, like a heart attack or a stroke or anything like that? Like, so did you just want this policy that we're gonna do a little bit just to pay off just the mortgage if you died only, or if you got sick as well?
It would make sense if we're sick as well.
Sick as well? I just had them pick HMS, right? Like at this part of the appointment, they just picked and I'm gonna make it seem like they picked it, right? But that was intentional as well. And then are you guys doing anything to try to pay off your mortgage early at all, or
We send a little bit extra.
how much extra?
I send 1,000 a month.
You send 1,000 extra a month?
No, 1,000 total.
1,000 total, so okay, so about $80 a month. And then, do you have a certain goal of when you want to have the mortgage paid by? 20, 25 years? probably?
That'll pay it off a few years early. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know the exact, but it knocks it down.
It'd be nice if you get it to 25?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing, right? It's just, I'm trying to do the 25-year cash back, so nice if it'd be 25, and he's like, yeah, that would be nice. So then when I show it to him later, he's like, that's awesome, that's exactly what I'm
I
looking
don't
for.
walk,
the
like,
whole
and
time.
these numbers are my legit mortgage before, like,
Yeah.
when we started this business.
Right.
Like, this is what I was doing. I'd have walked right into HMS one.
Right? So it's like, you want something.
Yeah, I didn't like
you get
make this
sick.
up to make it easier. That's
Yeah.
that was our mortgage payment. That was our mortgage balance before we,
Yeah.
I mean, like, when I was new, we lived in a little 1,200 square foot house. That was $800 a month.
So they just picked out they want the cash back, and they picked out that they want
Yeah.
something for critical illness, right? So, okay, do you guys have any insurance not including what you get through work?
No.
Only
Only
work.
work.
All right, so I'm sure y'all know that this is why you're looking at this, right? Is because you know the work coverage is only good as long as you're there. Or like if your company decides to get bought out or sell or whatever, that you can lose that coverage and it's not yours, you don't own it. You
I thought
understand
I
that,
could
correct?
keep it.
No, because as soon as, did they ever send you a policy or just a little piece of paper?
I think just a piece of paper.
Yeah, so the company owns that coverage, so if one day the owner decides that he wants to buy an island, then your coverage is gonna go away.
Oh, wow.
Or whatever he wants to, if he decides that he's gonna sell the company or you don't work there anymore, or worse, you get sick for 3-4 months, and can't work anymore, that coverage stays with the company.
Gotcha.
So like, if anything, you basically have to die work for that one to pay out, does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Got it, okay, so it makes sense why we don't really rely on the work coverage?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay, cool. I asked that one 3-4 times too to make sure that's done, like, we're not gonna talk about that again. If she brought it up now, it'd be really weird, right? She's like, I agree, yeah, no, that coverage
Yeah.
sounds terrible.
Which is funny, that part was legit too. Right?
Yeah.
Like, she remembers now when
Yeah.
when we found out, because I didn't know this stuff. When
Yeah.
I started, I had no insurance and she had a work policy.
Mhm.
And it was like, and then I started learning this and I'm like, let's look at that thing.
Yeah.
And it was a sheet of paper. It was like 80 grand, I think you had.
Yeah.
And I remember having to explain it to her. She's like, oh, neither one of us had a clue.
Right. So I'd like to educate people that as well, and I'd just like to say it like, I'm sure you guys know this, right? And she had to go out of her way, but most people will just be like, oh yeah, I knew that, because they don't want to seem dumb, right?
Yeah.
So then from there, what I'll do is I just show them, I draw, if you haven't listened to Frankie Feeney yet, listen to it, how he draws out to do the amortization table and how to pay the mortgage off early. I personally just show them how to cover the whole mortgage with cash back, and then I ask again, which one of you guys does the budget? John would say him, and I slide it over to him, hey, is this manageable in your budget? And if he flinches at all, like if it's not, don't worry, we can lower it a little bit. So I let him look at it though and tell me, yeah, it's a little high. I'm like, no worries, we can cover a little bit less. You know what number would be about right for your budget? And I just kind of work down that way. But I always start with the whole thing for both people and then move down. If I just read it, like I'll show it to him, and if he looks fine, I don't say a word. So if I'm like, here, what do you think? And he's just looking at it like, yeah, I could do that. Then I don't say a single thing. I'm like, all right, just grab me your checkbook and your ID. But if I slide it over and he looks at it and his eyes get wide or like he gets tense or something, I'm like, John, you guys both make about half the income anyways. So what we'll do is do a little bit lower coverage just to make sure you cover each other's half of the mortgage. Does that make sense? Because most people don't cover the whole thing anyways. I just have to show you the maximum amount. So I just try to read it as best as I can, and I always try to top down sell. Yeah. And then if they tell me like they want to think about it or anything like that, I'll ask them, okay, so from this, you know, it sounded like this stuff was all important to you with the critical illness and the cash back. Is it truly a budget thing, or is it something you're not understanding on here at all, or just walk me through that a little bit. What's your biggest issue with purchasing this?
I mean, just pricing wise.
Just pricing wise?
Yeah. Okay.
So what I showed you originally was, let's just say it was $300 a month for the whole thing. You know, what's a number you'd be comfortable with, John?
Maybe if it were like, I don't know, half that, a couple $100 maybe.
Like half? Okay. So let me ask you, is it more important for you to have the entire mortgage covered, or to get your money back early and be able to pay the house off?
Seems like it makes sense to get money back.
Get money back?
Yeah.
Okay. And the cool thing is you guys both make about like half of, like you guys' income is about half and half, right? So we can cut this in half and at least cover $150 on each person. That way if the other one dies, you can refinance the mortgage and manage the payment. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Okay, so $150 sounds good for your budget?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Just do me a favor, go grab me your driver's license and your
You need more
checkbook.
water?
I need more water. And a steak dinner, please.
So you saw there is just experience, right? How many appointments you go in a week?
A lot.
A lot.
30.
Right? And how many weeks you've been here?
2 years now.
2 years. So 2 years, 30 appointments a week.
Yeah.
Simple math would say that's a lot of appointments.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So that's what comes with experience. That's what you guys get to look forward to. How are you going to look in a few years? You're going to be taller. You're going to wear navy suit jackets. You know, you're going to look great. And you're also going to sell a lot of insurance. But that's the biggest thing that agents don't do. They don't give themselves a chance to win by not sticking with it. One of the things also we don't talk about a lot is month 10. Like, who loves month 10 as a new agent? And what month 10 is, that's when you start getting your back end deposits, because we get a 9-month advance. So 9-month advance, and month 10 you start to get paid every single month, months 10, 11, and 12. Now, by month 12, you have a 24% more income. You start to get paid now on the policies you wrote 10, 11, and 12 months ago that keeps rolling. And that's one of the coolest things. You make it to month 10, you get an 8% income raise. Month 11, 16%. Month, what's the next month? Month 12, 24%. So just stick with it, guys. But on top of your income will grow, as well as your skill set will grow. So thank you so much, Zach, for sharing so much with us and pouring out. And John and Steph, you guys were excellent as well.